women should keep being proactive in their society, in their community, in their neighborhood where they're living, to being involved in, let's say, political parties, in the civil society sector, so that the voice of the Muslims keep being heard. Because currently we are facing that others are talking and acting on behalf of Muslims who actually, and most of us, do identify with European values, with democracy, with the rule of law, with human rights. And if we believe in these values, European values, then our rights as Muslims are as well protected. Muslim women are very worried about the growing Islamophobia, the growing intolerance towards Muslims in Europe, including indigenous European Muslim communities, but as well immigrant Muslim communities. Very often in many European countries the headscarf is banned. I would advise Muslim women to discuss about this issue, to be included in open meetings, in open discussion, but as well at the same time to get a proper education about Islam. We cannot discuss about Islamic practice if we ourselves do not have a proper knowledge about what Islam is, what Islam prescribes. We are trying within our research institute to affirm, to be assertive, how the Bosnian Muslims throughout the last at least 5 centuries, throughout the last 500 years, the way how they have practiced Islam, lived Islam, taught Islam, because this is a perception of Islam which is very tolerant, very European, very open-minded. We have learned throughout experience living in different political systems to live in diverse political and societal systems, starting from the Ottoman Empire, then the Austro-Hungarian dominantly Catholic Empire, and then we had 80 years of Yugoslavia, starting with the Kingdom of Serbs, Croats and Slovenes, Kingdom of Yugoslavia, and even socialist regime. So we have experienced even living in a secular state. We learned to live in diverse political systems and diverse society, and to adapt as well to different circumstances. Our experience as indigenous European Muslims on European soil, having as well this organizational structure of the Islamic community, and having as well the experience of having always lived together with other religious communities and with other peoples, dominantly with Catholics, Orthodox and Jews. For us, the other is not something that bothers us. On the contrary, it's a part of our identity. And it is as well an integral part of the history of Islam, the life, sharing your neighborhood, sharing your country with the other. Current teachings, imported teachings of Islam, which have a violent, very violent interpretation of Islam, calling for violence, where the other is considered to be as something disturbing, is absolutely not rooted in Islam, is something that is totally foreign to the original teachings of Islam. So it is as well our duty and our obligation to tell to our neighbors that a life together with the other, whether this is a religious community, whether these are other nations, whether these are even unbelievers or even atheists, it is not our task to judge the other. Our task is to build a better future for all of us, for the sake of a peaceful future for all of us, for the sake of dismantling and disabling these populist forces, these extreme right-wing movements and political parties who are slowly entering more and more parliaments in Europe. I think it is very important that we are taking the initiative, that we are not only in the defensive, but as well that we should take the offensive, but in terms of entering a constructive dialogue.